All right, here, Jing, take it away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, almost crushed mine. Okay, so how's everyone feeling today? Okay, are you guys getting good insights from some of the discussions and talks that we're having so far? Okay, great. So, one of the core values, actually, I'd like to repeat here at Bukit Vista is to be transparent. And so, we think that the future of innovation and the future of hospitality will happen better if we're transparent. Okay, so the question is, why is transparency good? Yeah? Let's go over to, let's see, does anybody have an opinion on that? Julie, I'm going to pick on you. Julie, why do you think transparency is a good thing?
Okay, transparency enables us to share, and sharing raises the game for everyone.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Nai, what do you think transparency helps with doing?
I think for us, that was the most important part of our job, to create trust between us and owners of apartments we are managing. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. That trust between owners and apartment owners and the property management company themselves. Okay, here's where we think transparency really helps. Transparency creates trust, and trust is vital in a home sharing business, because we're not just talking about like a space that's a business. We're talking about our very places where we live. And so early on in my days at Airbnb, I could see that the company was very, very transparent about what is actually going on inside the company and what they're actually doing. So sometimes I would find it shocking that Airbnb would actually reveal what they were actually making to all the employees. It felt like I was in the executive room in a board meeting seeing all the data. So Bukit Vista has always been at the very beginning tried to improve our transparency. And today we're going to actually be as transparent as we possibly can by showing you what we see as a company inside of our company. So these stats are all live stats going on right now, showing what Bukit Vista looks like under the hood. And so to sort of bring that point forward and building trust within the community, we hope by sharing actual details, showing actual facts, we can all approach and approximate what the future of innovation looks like. Because the future of innovation looks like it's built on facts rather than on conjecture. All right, so without further ado, I'd like you to take a look at these are the stats. Every decision at Bukit Vista goes through looking at data. Question, why is data so important? Leon. Okay, Leon, with the mic, please.
Because with the data, this is actually what I've been waiting the whole day. I've been asking the same thing every time we have the seminars in the labs.
Okay.
With joy, I always ask data, because data, you start from there.
You start from the data.
You start from the data.
Okay, very good. Does anybody else have any thought points about data? Emily, you're new. What do you think about data?
The information that we saw from the data can help us to assess some of the things that we want to do to improve the
Correct. So data helps us make better business decisions. And the next session, I'd like to bring you through how Bukit Vista collects data, how we actually analyze that data, and how we make intelligent decisions on what to do with that data. There's been a lot of discussion in this room about how competitive Airbnb is. I think Ken mentioned this morning. The problem with making a platform easy is that it's easy for everybody. So then it's not a benefit anymore just to be on Airbnb. What is the benefit is what kind of insights can you as professional managers gain that is less available and is less accessible by people who are just casually doing it. This will be the distinctive difference, I think, between people who are going to be very successful on the platform and people who are moderately successful on the platform. So let me introduce you under the hood, Bukit Vista's data dashboard. Now this is an impromptu idea. This was never on the schedule, but we thought in the interest of improving learning, of improving engagement, we would start sharing this data. If you want to actually find out more about what we do, we record all our meetings on YouTube. So you can watch what actually Bukit Vista does on a day-to-day basis and see how we make data-driven decisions to lead the hospitality industry. All right, first graph I want to show you guys is this graph up here. Does anybody care to guess what these bars represent? Sales, revenue, okay. Booking pace. Booking pace. Booking pace is how many bookings are you getting every day? So to zoom, I know it's a little bit hard to see. People are recording this now. Okay, it's on YouTube anyways. You can watch it. All right. So what you can see on booking pace is you can see how many bookings are being taken every day. For example, over here, this is November 6th. We had a peak booking of 97. The next day on November 7th, we had a booking of 89. The day after, it's declining. Today so far, maybe because our whole team is here right now, we only have 34 bookings so far today. So then we color the bookings differently. There's orange bookings and there's blue bookings. What's the difference? Anybody care to take a guess? What is the difference between the orange and the blue? Conversion. No, these are all bookings. These all have been converted, right? So these are all converted bookings. Any other guesses anybody might have for what the difference between the orange and the blue are? Targeted achievement. Rebookings. No, these are all bookings. So not targeted achievement, not rebook. This is in-month sales. In-month sales and out-month sales. Orange represents basically bookings that are happening with check-in dates in November. Okay? So that way we can actually see, for November, are we ramping up or are we ramping down? And this you can see, people are making early bookings all the way back in October, but as November comes in, people make more and more and more of these bookings. So that gives us insights on when people are booking. We can see that more people are booking last minute, of course. And that is because getting bookings done is getting easier and easier using phones, using apps, and this has reduced the urgency to actually make a booking beforehand with any advanced planning. So the very first statistic we always look at Bukit Vista is the booking pace of the property. Does anybody want to guess why booking pace is so important? To set the pricing, yes. Booking pace has influence on pricing. But what else does the booking pace have influence on? Any guesses? Staffing. Yes, booking pace can give you an idea of how many check-ins are going to happen so you can staff correctly. Any other insights on what a booking pace can tell you? Does anybody here, oh, go ahead. Evaluation. What do you mean by that, sir?
Evaluation of what kind of client.
Okay, so you can see. I have another data stat later that you can dig down into and see what kind of clients you have, actually. But okay, does anybody care about their ranking on Airbnb? Yes. Please raise your hand if you care about your ranking. Okay, everyone. So the thing about ranking that makes ranking so difficult is because ranking looks different for each user. We all know that. If I go into Google and I start searching for, I don't know, tropical holiday Malaysia, I will get a different sequence of results than, let's say, if Diva goes on Google and starts searching for tropical holiday Malaysia. This is pretty normal on most search engines, and Airbnb is another one of those search engines. So personalized results make detecting ranking very difficult because what's happening is that each different person is seeing a different ranking. There is not one uniform ranking on Airbnb for everyone. Makes sense, right? So when you go on Airbnb and you see, am I on the first page? Well, you shouldn't use your own login if you're doing that because you'll probably see biased results. The best thing you can probably do is go on incognito mode and try it from there. But then not a lot of people are searching on Airbnb booking with incognito mode, so then that ranking itself is also not very accurate. So we have a complex situation here where we don't know what our ranking is, and there's really no easy way to predict it. But if you know your booking pace, you don't need to know your ranking anymore, right? If you know how many bookings you're taking every week, and you have a good idea of what that should be, ranking isn't so important. Because you must have ranking in order to get bookings, right? You couldn't have possibly gotten bookings if people couldn't find your listing. So instead of asking or telling people, hey, I have a high rating on Airbnb, instead, I have a high booking pace on Airbnb. I have a high booking pace on Booking.com. That allows you to gather that insight about how well you're doing ranking-wise on the platform. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? Okay. Hopefully that's a good insight. Hopefully that will oh, I don't feel safe about my ranking. What am I actually doing? Don't worry about that. If you're getting bookings and you're tracking how often you're getting bookings, that will give you pretty much all the information you need. You can also track trends. If you have 4 days where your bookings are decreasing, it's probably a low season coming up and you might need to do something about that. So looking at this data day to day gives you insights about what's going on. Okay, so thank you for zooming in. Can we zoom in a little bit tighter over here? All right, so this is how much money we're making this month right now, right? Total sales on Airbnb. Once again, blue denotes the number of sales that happened before November. Orange denotes the sales that happened in November. It's at 228,900 and 393 right now. Revenue is key to manage any relationship with a partner. So once again, we all agree revenue. But if you don't know what the revenue is, how can you track that? The number most partners often get confused with, or they focus on when they first start out, is what is the highest price I can get for that particular property. If you go down that pathway, ultimately what you see is that there's no gain. If you get, let's say, a $500 booking twice a night, you've made only $1,000 over the month. But if you get $300 bookings 30 days, then you get $9,000 over the month, and you impact revenue. So if you don't track your revenue, then you don't have a revenue story. So the revenue is key. This is your benchmark for success in most property management cases. Let's shift over to this side. The monthly revenue might actually be a little bit difficult to dissect, like what's under it, what's under the hood. That's why we keep track of weekly sales. Weekly sales gives us an idea if we're likely to hit that revenue target. It allows us to create projections. It allows us to tell owners what the future might look like. So data, data, data. 3 key points that we look at Bukit Vista to know if we're doing good or not. Any questions so far? Oh, good? Leon? Oh, no, this is the total. We can zoom into each area. Which area would you like to know? Okay. Ubud, we do not have a lot of properties, but if Tendy can go down, we can look at, let's see if we have area here. Area name. Okay, so we'll click on that, and then we'll go to Ubud, and we can zoom in and see what is happening in Ubud. How many bookings are we getting every day in Ubud? What is the overall revenue generated in Ubud and what the weekly sales are? We can go down to the granular level, to each property, and figure out what's going on at each property's level. So based on that, we can make good insights. I'll show you kind of like a little exercise that we did once upon a time. Let's go up here to this listing. And once upon a time, Bukit Vista was managing this cliffront property. But it didn't always look this way. It looked kind of different. So once upon a time, we were trying to figure out, does this photo work? Does this photo work? Does this photo work? Does this photo work? We started with this photo first, this nighttime shot showing an evening scene with a floating breakfast tray. So what do? We went on that dashboard that every host has, and we looked at the CTR. What does CTR mean for everyone here? It's the click-through rate. We looked at the click-through rate, and this click-through rate was 1.8% and had 220 impressions. We were like, that's good, but can we do better, all right? So then we replaced the photo. We replaced the photo with the second shot over here. I think it was a bathtub shot. And so, oh no, it was the drone shot, sorry. Okay, we have a drone photo in there somewhere, but we switched to an overhead drone shot. Once again, we looked at the data. We saw what is the CTR and what is the impressions. This got, I think, 240 with a 2% CTR. So we're like, can we do even better? Can we actually distinguish ourselves? Now, we have a problem here. We have 2 other identical villas on the same area. So when we have many villas and many photos that all look the same, then you're confronted with a commoditization problem. If anybody's looking through the Airbnb index and they're saying this photo is shot from a low angle across the pool looking up, this villa is also shot from a low angle looking up, this villa is also shot from the same angle, then nobody's going to really care about the features of the villa. They'll just look at the price now, right? Who is giving that villa for the cheapest price? And so then you cannot then get that quality that you're looking for. So we tried something radically different. We said, why don't we shoot the photo like this? This is the latest shot, and this is what we moved up to the front page. We got kayaks, and we showed an experience. We showed an experience that wasn't being told before. We told the story. We told the story of what you would do if you're there. So where does this come down to? This comes down to every property should have a unique experience selling point. So what is it that makes this villa special? Sure, it's on a cliff. It's got a beach, just like the other 12 villas there. But you can rent a kayak. You can rent a kayak, and you can spend the whole day there kayaking, snorkeling, getting your foot on a jellyfish or a sea urchin. Maybe not. But that's what made this landing page photo really well. This got a 5%, I think it was 3.9%, and 300, and it started inching up. Okay, so what did that do on its impact to revenue? So we can take a look, and we can go back to our stats, and we can look at the villa, and we can see, oh, if we go back, let's say go back 12 months, last. Okay, so this is stretching a little bit. I actually don't remember when we actually made that change, but ultimately any change that you make, track back to the revenue, track back to the booking pace, track back to the weekly sales. Any sort of change that improves those figures is a good change. Any change that moves those figures down is not a good change. So it becomes an experimental process. You test your idea, you check back on the data, and you see if that is actually moving you towards the right direction. You have to really, really get into this process, and once you get into it, then you can make definite decisions. You'll find that changing your title, changing your photo, changing the description, changing the sequence of your photos, adding new graphic cards, these can all have impact to your bottom line. They can move your line up. So anyhow, that's a little bit of a feature of what we do just with the main dashboard. But there's more. There's actually a lot more. There's more data that we are harvesting. Harvesting is such a dirty word, okay? That we're collecting from every booking that's coming in. So let's go through and take a look at that. Let's see. Let's go on to bigger. And let's go into growth. As a company, we'd like to know how much we're growing year on year too. So this tracks our growth curve. And once again, this can be applied to any property that you manage to as well. Track what their growth is. What kind of revenue were they making in the first season? What kind of revenue were they making in the second season? What kind of revenue in the third? And what kind of revenue in the fourth? Year after year, if you can show that you're growing to property owners, and property owners will be more favorable to let you continue managing their property. So definitely track what the revenue growth year on year is. We can also track different things since we aggregate our data. We can track the growth of different regions too as well. We can see, is that region actually doing better, worse? And what is the seasonality? And seasonality has to be measured objectively. It's not just, I feel like it's low season. What is a low season? It means that there's fewer bookings happening. It means that there's lower revenue being earned. So going through that and stepping through, Bukit Vista is able to then look inside and see what the seasonality looks like from a revenue perspective. Also, getting more data out there. Potential and conversion. Now, this is the dirty, dark news about occupancy. You might see, like from the outside, we're doing good. We have 163 properties. But there's a flip side to that. When you have 163 properties, maybe you're actually not achieving the fullest occupancy that you actually want. And so we can track the occupancy. And this is the funny thing that I've always found, that even at peak occupancy, we're only at 23% across the entire market. It's no secret. Airbnb knows that. They know that essentially villas and stuff on the platform have lower occupancy ultimately than things that are hotels. And the reason, part of the reason for that is, where's cloud beds? Where's Christian?
Christian had to go.
Oh, okay. All right. There's this thing called representative inventory. And this is a funny concept. So this is an insight we discovered a few months ago. We realized that when you have multiple rooms on Airbnb, you make multiple listings. Julie knows that. You make one listing here, one listing here, one listing here. Now, each 3 listings stand on their own. So if one listing is ranked very high and it's booked, then the other 2 listings are just sitting around on whatever page they are. You don't get the full push of all 3 listings back up to the high ranking. You have to high rank 3 listings individually. That is a pain. And competing, these listings also mutually compete with each other, of course, because in the same area for the same price. So using Airbnb for guest houses, we realized that you do need something like a cloud beds that adds representative inventory. It makes it so that you can start with a single listing and add 3 units behind it. Occupation. Request conversion rate. Request conversion rate. Oh, we need to fix this part. All right, this is transparency. We've had some sort of data damage here, and it looks like we're taking no requests. So I'm showing you my dirty underwear here too. But this is what real requests look like, right? So everyone knows what a reservation request is, yeah? You get a request from a guest saying, can I actually occupy the property? We measure what the conversion rate for that is, and that lets us know what the quality of the partnership is too as well. Are we able to accept all these different requests? Okay, moving on. Does everyone like this? Is this good stuff? Yeah? Okay, good. Forecasting.
Jing, we have a question.
We have a question here. Yes.
Can I ask, this system or platform, is it connected to your Airbnb only, or is it connected to other booking site?
This is something we developed in-house at Bukit Vista, actually. So our CTO, Bayu, came up with this with his team. There he is, right. Give Bayu. So basically what we're doing is every time Airbnb sends us an email, we take that email, we feed it into a database, and then we process the database through a data visualization service. This then takes the rows and columns of all the data, which includes like the date of check-in, date of checkout, booking amount, guest name, location where they're from, all that, and it creates visual representations according to whatever filter you'd like. These are essentially all built by Bukit Vista so that we can understand our business and that we can have a tool for innovation. Okay, all right. Forecast. Forecast is cool. I don't know how the forecast actually works inside this system, but it's looking at all the old data and it's kind of giving us a prediction of what's going to happen. This forecast is sometimes right, sometimes not off, but anyway, we actually have our own special ways of creating property forecasts too as well. All right, let's look at the market building chapter. This is the growth of Bukit Vista on a line showing how many new properties are accumulating, and this is the work that Nung Lee and her team does. They go out, they find new partnerships, they bring it back to Bukit Vista, and we keep account. One of the insights that I discovered that was pretty interesting to me was that Bukit Vista didn't always have 165 properties. We actually had more. We had more. We had close to 300 properties in one time. But the irony, and this I shared with Nai, the irony of things is actually less is more. So what does that mean? We found out that our revenue went up when we reduced the total property count. Now you might ask yourself, how is that possible? Because not all properties are equally productive, and not all properties deserve the attention of a professional host to manage that property. So really look at real metrics rather than your vanity metrics. Yes, it might be cool to come to a conference and say, I have 5,000 properties or I have 10,000. But what really matters at the end of the day is, do you have revenue? Because investors, people who are actually going to grow your company, employees, they need revenue, right? You can't pay people with vanity stats. So this is a tracking system, and then this allowed us to be more confident in our decision to actually work with specific properties that were good for Bukit Vista and good for them too. So this allows us to make much more affirmative and decisive decisions as well. We then, of course, have scoring mechanisms here. We can see what each person brought in to the company who was on the market building team. Okay, let's go up. And content. Content is important. Content is so, so important. If you don't have good content, you're going to find yourself doing a lot of manual work, explaining things over and over and over again to people who, you know, the 16th guest will ask the same question as the first guest. So we measure content by what the instant book rate is. So if we get a higher instant book rate, we attribute that to the good work of content that's making it easy for people to see it, understand it, and book. So we're pretty good. We're up at around 93 to 94% of our listings are instant book. And that might be valuable for people who are thinking about whether to go request for book or instant book. This one we're working on. Like I said, this is a real peek under the dashboard. So this one doesn't, I have no fast way of explaining this yet, but this is essentially inquiry versus booking. We're trying to create a ratio system here. All right, Reservations. So the bookings that don't go through Instant Book, they come to our reservation team and then they attempt to convert it. So we can see what our inquiry conversion rates are, we can see what our request conversion rates are, and this gives your teams who are working in your company a metric to measure success. Because what's the point of getting all these inquiries if you're not actually getting any bookings? Once again, data tells the whole story. Okay, next slide. Okay, let's go to community management. This is the dirtiest of the dirty laundry. All right. You see that stack of red? That's because we've been preparing for this event for the past few days. So the number of negative reviews is rising as well. So this is good. When you're managing different profiles, you're getting all this information coming in, you don't know what you should actually focus on. But if you did have a dashboard like this where you could see, all right, who is upset? What do I do about that? Who is assigned to that? Then that allows you more control to fix the leaks where they happen. And also, so you don't have to maybe spend too much energy looking across the entire operation that you have to understand where the problems are. This is okay though. We get like 80 bookings a day, so but still not good enough. We need to get better at this. All right. Okay, good insights so far? Yeah, good? All right, fantastic. Yes, Vin. How do we get that information on our dashboard so nicely? You're going to have to, I don't know, how do we get it? Okay, so we get it by essentially, we take the emails, we parse the emails, we send it to a database. The database then goes through a visualization service, and the visualization service then gives us this. We use AI to read all the reviews to get the review sentiment, because reading reviews at scale is a lot of attention. You don't have the necessary capacity to do that. We send it to the AI gives us a sentiment score, the sentiment score then gives us a ranking, and then we only display reviews or feedback that have a lower than threshold ranking. Answer your question? Okay, great. Any other questions at the moment? All right, okay, cool. Let's keep on going. The insights are also pretty powerful here. So some people say, should I focus on Airbnb? Should I focus on Booking.com? I say focus on one and do well on that. Don't focus on two. When you focus on two, you become a half-ass on two places and not a full-ass on one. So what does that mean? Ranking is exponential decay. So the first ranked property will get thousands of impressions, the second ranked property maybe hundreds, and after that less and less and less exponentially. So if you divide your forces, half on Airbnb, half on Booking.com, you probably are ranked maybe 100 on Airbnb and then 100 on Booking.com. It is way worse than just having one listing on one site that is topmost ranking. That's all you need. You don't need to be a master of everything, you just need to be a master of one good thing. Focus. And it doesn't take too much imagination to imagine the availability. The availability of one listing shrinks when you put it on another platform, right? If you're getting booked on Booking.com, then you have no availability on Airbnb, and vice versa. If you have no availability, you have no results on search ranking. If you have no results on search ranking, there's no way to boost your search ranking up. So once again, that was an insight that we discovered through years of experimentation. And within even one platform, we can see that two listings on Airbnb for the same property ended up doing not as well as a single good listing. So don't compete with yourself. This is what it looks like when you do things our way, I guess. This is our Airbnb revenue, and this is the rest. It should look this way. It's not actually a surprise. This is what focus gets you. It gets you the highest results on the correct channel. I don't care if you share a photo on Flickr or Instagram, but your audience is mostly probably going to be on Instagram, right? So you could be number 50 on Flickr and number 50 on Instagram, but if you're number 1 on Instagram, it's probably much better. Not everything fits the same way. Like I said earlier, guest houses, things without represented inventory, they do tend to sell better on major traditional travel sites like Booking.com, Expedia, Traveloka. All right, so that's that. Listing performance. We track basically the listing performance, and our content team is in charge of making listings get booked. Because it's not getting booked, then something not right is happening. So we'll take a look at the bookings, requests, and the inquiries, and the essential job of the content team is to get bookings without inquiries. And so far, they're doing a pretty good job. Only one inquiry on all those listings. That means people are ready to book without even having to ask a single question. Next, daily inquiries. These are the inquiries that are not being converted, so we'd like to know what's going on there. Let's take a look at Okay, I've only got a few more seconds. Okay, all right. Let's skip to the end. The end is kind of fun. Towards the end.
Sir, you got 30 minutes actually, not seconds.
Oh, 30 minutes. Okay, thank you. You guys want to hear me talk for another 30 minutes? Okay, I'll slow it down then. So, this is geographical distribution. Under Airbnb booking, it will show where the guest has come from. Scrape that, hit that in, and we can see where our business is coming from. We can see what's happening. We can see growth. This little dot, does anybody know where this little dot is? Philippines, who said that? Leon. Oh, did you join us? Yeah. Okay. All right, Philippines. That little dot was not there 6 months ago. Does anybody know why that little dot was not there 6 months ago?
I was just scratching my head.
Oh, okay. All right. Sometimes we find out things from the data before we actually find about them in real life. So the interesting thing about this is we look at this map, and most of the time it's the same, right? You know, you get guests coming from North America, very few from South America, a lot from Western Europe, Germany, France, United Kingdom. You get a smattering coming from India now. You're seeing Southeast Asia, but we're not seeing much China. And so that's why it was the first question I asked a bunch of our other hosts. Where are the Chinese this year? And so we saw less Chinese guests, but we did see new markets emerge. We saw the Philippines emerge. We saw more people coming from KL. Yeah, thank you, Malaysia. And what happened here was actually something that was really insightful. It's really, really key if you're thinking about expansion. What do you need in order to get people to Bali? Like Jordan said, they're not going to swim here. They need flights. There's a direct flight from the Philippines 6 months ago to Bali. So that then imported a whole new group of people who were unable to get here really cheaply or reliably before, right? That direct flight really helped. So stuff like that can actually help. You can look at the geographical distribution. You can try to get more in touch with the local culture. You can put your headlines in a different language. You can do all this. And Airbnb, I think, also just released 24 new languages or something too as well. So this is also interesting. This is my first guest from this country. Anyone know where this is? No, this is Equatorial Guinea. It's cool, huh? So yeah, the power of data is pretty cool. All right, let's go to group size distribution. Now, for a lot of people who actually have apartments, the group size distribution might or might not matter for your extra person fee. I know this looks a little bit weird, so let me kind of bring you down maybe by, let's not look at the booking check-in in the next 2 months, let's just look at the booking check-in today. Okay, hit that. All right, so this is what the booking check-in for Bukit Vista looks like on today. Maybe I should go see my guest, right? Okay, so we have 21 thank you, that's very kind of you. Okay, we have 21 check-ins, group size 1, 48 check-ins in group size 2, 5 check-ins group size 3, 5 check-ins group size 4, and we have no big groups. All right, so then when a person with a large villa comes to me and says, hey look Jing, how should I price my 6-bedroom villa? I go like, well, a 6-bedroom villa has capacity of this, but right now there's no guests that actually need that capacity. So you have a choice. You can either sell to accommodate this group of people, or 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 maybe this group of people. But if you're trying to target 12 people, you're not going to. And they're not going to come, because it's November. And maybe unless you came to the host meetup, you weren't traveling in a group, right? Okay, so, and that's why we did it, because it was low season, so everyone could get here easily, right? All right, so that's basically an insight that is very valuable, and you can figure how to structure what you actually want to do with interior design. What do you actually want to do with planning? What do you want to do with your Airbnb? It should fit the size of the group, every season, every day. Cool. Yeah. Yes, that is correct, Ken. This is only our data set. So it doesn't represent the overall market data set. But one of the things I learned at Airbnb that was pretty interesting was this. If you are experimenting, right? If you're just trying to get your own thing to work better, your own data set is enough. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb just by using his own data. What you're doing is you're iterating on your own products and on your own thing. Yes, there's hidden data here. There might be groups that are traveling, groups of 12 that we don't see. I don't think so because we have capacity for properties that are that size and they're not booking it yet. When you're a hammer, sure, everything looks like a nail. But in the case of this, incomplete data that is accurate is far better than complete data that is inaccurate. When I look at big statistics, tourism board statistics, I don't know really how they got that. And I really don't know how that's going to influence me. I mean, I'll give you an example. A few years ago, there was reports by the Bali Tourism Board that there was more inbound Chinese guests. And sure, we saw more inbound Chinese guests just like everyone else. But how did these people travel? Well, they got into a tour bus at the airport, and the tour bus brought them to a hotel, and they went to a restaurant that had some sort of commission system back to the travel agent, and they went to a shop that had some sort of commission system back to the travel agent, and so they went that way. So that overall growth inside Chinese visitor travel doesn't really affect the way I do business. It's not really related to me. So focus on your own data, because your own data is actually the most relevant to what you can action about. You might have the big brain, small arm, or the Frankenstein problem, right? So Frankenstein, wait, no, Frankenstein didn't have a brain. Okay, let's say like the handy, oh God, that's so dark. I was gonna say Stephen Hawking, right? Okay, you might have a really, really, really intelligent brain, but if you can't actually take any action to do anything about it, then the insight is also impotent, it's useless. So your own data usually is something that you have some sort of control over physically too as well, setting the prices, creating better content, better headline, photos, these things. You don't need to look at data that has, let's say, you can't do anything about. You're not the ministry, you can't create a new building, you can't build new infrastructure. So big data maybe for big projects, small data for small projects. Great. Good question though. Any other questions so far? No? Okay, let's keep on going. Price distribution. Now this, I love this one. This is good. All right. So hell is that, right? Okay. So what this shows is a grouping of all the bookings coming in, all the check-in dates, and how much each person paid per night for that stay. All right? And so generally we can see, guess what time of year this is, guys? What time of year is that? What time of year is this? This is Christmas, yeah. So this is between December 24th and January 9th, actually. Once again, insight. How long does the peak season last? Well, most people just put peak season as all of December or part of August or whatever it is, but peak season has, yes sir? 7 nights, yeah? No. Peak season starts right about here when peak prices start coming in, right? And it goes until peak prices stop. That's it. That's real peak season. That's not imagined historical peak season. Because it's not just what happened last year, it's what's happening in the future that really counts. So if you know that, all right, starting from this day, we have people that are paying this much for a property, then that's probably an indication of peak season. If we see a lot of bookings stacking up, that's probably another indication that peak season is upon us. So I see a lot of hotels, I see a lot of groups, and they indicate peak season by doing something completely different. They look at, I don't know, a table that they did last year, and then they just write 10% more. But if you're agile, if you're dynamic, if you can look into the future and see what people are actually paying, then you know when peak season begins, you know when peak season stops, and you can sort and filter by each filter and to find out what is the median price that people are paying so that you have more insights on how to get there. So this data answers the age-old complicated question of how much should I price my property? Right? And as property managers, we hear that a lot sometimes. Okay, so if you want to get really interesting, maybe we can do a regression study. Let's go and take a look at Nusa Dua. Over here. Nusa Dua. Okay, so this is actually an easy analysis, so I'll make it. Okay, sorry, maybe that's an extension. All right, this analysis basically shows what prices we're getting, and we can see the rise of peak season. We're able to get higher and higher prices as we get closer to New Year's and Christmas Eve. So this then allows us to make a pricing prediction. This is called, let's see if anyone knows. What do we call this line right here? This gray line right here? Anybody have an idea? No? Anybody? This is called a regression line. Okay? So a regression line, what it does is it predicts an outcome price based on an input date. With a regression line, you can start making predictions on prices for dates that have no bookings. If I want to guess how much December 6th should be priced, I know that I've gotten bookings here and here around this price, so I can probably price it here and get a booking. All right? Over here, if I price it the same way, that's stupid, right? Because most of the people are paying up to this amount. So once again, with the regression line, I can also look at here. I can look at what's above the regression line and below the regression line. I can see over here on these dates, December 26th to January 1st, everything's above the line. So I don't even need to use the line. I can accurately predict prices above the line, and they'll probably work. Data, facts, certainty. All right. I'm going to show this really quickly, but I'm going to cover this side so you don't see what our partners are making. Okay, right here. Okay. Okay. Standing here so you can't. So this is very favorable when we do community management. So when we try to manage a community, we try explaining this a lot, right? We say, hey, look, you should do this, and sometimes people's eyes, they just go, what the hell are you talking about? We go, okay, let's make it simple for you. Let's make it simple. Let's see what your neighbor's making, right? Your neighbor made this much this month, and you made this much this month. And we tell them your neighbor went on dynamic pricing, and they allowed us to control the rates, and you didn't. And then next week they go, really? All right, and then they're vengeful, and they want to go on dynamic pricing too. So this is a really good psychological, I guess, leaderboard that helps us essentially show comparisons between different properties. Cool? Okay, all right, let's move off this so that, my booking window. Okay. Now, as we all know, people don't actually all travel last minute. A lot of them plan their stays ahead. So we essentially, okay, all right, let's see. Let's make this easier to look at. Okay, let's see. Month of booking check-in. Can we go to month of booking check-in, go just October, please? Okay, so we're going to look into the past. Okay. All right. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the booking window. Does anybody know what a booking window means? Yes, sir. Or
the period that the guest booked or actually checks in.
Yes, it's the time between the time of booking and the time of check-in. And why is that valuable to know? Why is that important to know?
It's to set the pricings.
Yes.
The bar rate, you know.
Right.
You have,
it times the pricing. Why is it important for timing the pricing?
revenue target.
Right. It allows you to hit revenue targets. If you know that your booking window, that means the time between somebody booking and the arrival is 60 days, right? And you go ahead and it's the day before your villa or your guest house is empty, you're going to know, I don't have enough time to sell this, right? Let's say, for example, you have a 10-bedroom villa. On average, the 10-bedroom villa needs a lead time of 60 days before they get booked. Tomorrow, the villa is empty. All right, what are your chances of getting booked? Probably zero. Probably zero. So when do you need to take action? 60 days before arrival. So each property will have a unique booking window. Each property will have a unique feature to this. So knowing the booking window allows us to time the time of a discount or a price raise just in time so that you're never too late, all right? Thankfully, a lot of people book last minute now. And who here gives last minute discounts? I'm really curious. Does anybody give last minute discounts? You give last minute discounts. You give last minute discounts. Anybody else? You can give last minute discounts, and you give last minute discounts. Yes. What is the risk? Why do you give a last minute discount then? Okay. All right. Go ahead. Tell us that on the right.
To make sure it's filled up.
To make sure it's filled up because otherwise?
It's empty anyways.
It's empty anyways, and that's a total loss, right? You can never sell tomorrow again today. All right? It's expired. So the funny thing is, and this is the greatest tragedy, and maybe this is why everyone's getting into the hotel market, right? The most number of bookings happen on the same day too. So that is the strangest and maybe weird, and maybe that's something we can work on together as a host community. We don't give last minute discounts because the weird thing is that most people do make last minute bookings. So that when the time the demand is the highest, the price is the lowest. Once again, one of those inversion ideas that you wouldn't be able to figure out if you didn't have the data. right? It would be like, well, high demand, high supply, but the timing is important. You can totally miss out. I don't know what we would do too. We do this every single thing, right? We give last minute discounts because we prefer to get some money than no money. And some money over time is actually quite a lot. All right, but we can analyze how many people are booking 50 days in advance, how many people are booking this many days in advance. We can see what the quantity of advanced bookers are and what the quantity of last minute bookers are too as well. Cool. Any questions? Good? All right. Whew. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Dirty news. Cancellations. Who likes cancellations? No, you don't. You don't like cancellations. A lot of people come and they ask me, should I have a moderate or a strict cancellation policy? And for a very long time, we didn't know what the right answer to that was either. We're like, ooh, I mean, I think moderate's better, I think strict is better. We didn't experiment. So we saw how much revenue we're losing to cancellations, right? And it's sizable. It's $50,000 in certain months, right? So we then thought, does this have any impact? So we made an experiment, we changed the policy, we got less cancellations and we made more revenue. So once again, one of those insights that's actually testable, debatable, it doesn't become a debate anymore, it just becomes verified by the data. We can see how much cancellations had affected before. We changed policy and we can see now cancellations are not affecting as much to what's going on. We can also see cancellation frequency. After we changed the cancellation policy, the frequency dropped. Less cancellations, of course, right? Because it's harder to cancel. Okay, cool. Let's see. Oh, new metric. Can I show this? I'm scared to show this. Employee experience. That's a new one. Okay. Oh no, wait. I'll share that tomorrow because I'm giving a talk about building great teams that can kick ass tomorrow. Okay. Anyhow, let's see. You're smiling over there. Okay. Let's see. Company metrics. Let me see what's going on in company metrics. Well, it's under the properties, right? Okay. All right. That's the number of check-ins we have, the number of listings that we have, the number of partner properties, and once our growth, we're up to 31% growth. Okay. All right. Great. I'll sit down for Q&A. Does anybody have any other questions they'd like to ask? 7 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Julie.
When you were showing photographs,
Yeah.
When you were showing photographs, you mentioned graphic cards. Can you share what that means?
Sure. Okay. If we go back to the other part, we have an excellent content team, by the way. And the content, stand up, people, stand up. All right, okay. There's content team here, and where's Rizal? Rizal's back there with the big smile, all right? So what the content team has done, they've actually put together all the beautiful signage and the bumper videos and all this stuff today. Can we give them a hand? All right, so to look on a bumper card, let's look on a graphic. So once again, a lot of people are reading through your Airbnb. This is kind of common knowledge now, I think, but maybe not, maybe not. Okay, if we go on I'll go on this part here. Okay, we click on this. Okay, and then I guess we can go back a few, backwards. Stuff like that, alright? Right, so that we don't have to answer that question anymore. How much does it cost for a massage? Right, right? Or, do you have any hot water in the villa? What's nearby? So, once again, these reduce the number of inquiries and they accelerate your instant book rate. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Oh.
yeah, there's some costs.
I was wondering how you extract the data from...
Through the email. So we take the email, parse the email, send it over to a server, and the server send it over to a database, and the database emails that.
That's so classy. How you found it to API from...
Because Airbnb doesn't share their API with anyone except Jordan over there. Okay, yeah.
Are you using various we're using the Windows DNS, so...
No, we're not using Windows DNS. But if we did, we probably could get it direct now, yeah? Okay. Cool. Okay, any other questions? No? Yes?
Given that you scaled down, did you reduce the number of properties that you've got.
So you said you've scaled down, reduced your number of properties and got bigger, higher revenue as a result. What's your future strategy? Are you going to scale up again, or are you going to stay?
Okay, I think we've had a lot of discussion with a lot of professional hosts, and we seem to all agree on this one central tenet. Good properties, good partners. That's really what scales your business. If you have good properties, bad partnerships, well, just get ready to be disappointed every day and hear a lot of complaints. If you have bad properties, good partnerships, that doesn't really help either. If you have the reverse, let's say you have a bad property and good partnership, well, you don't really fulfill at the side. So ultimately, you're looking to get liquidity, I guess, which is a match between what people want to buy and what you can reliably serve. And so your partnerships are going to be who you're going to interface every month with that monthly report with more insights. And so if those partnerships aren't solid, those will drain you. And those will distract you. And those will, sometimes they can even affect your ranking on Airbnb, because you're not able to take a reservation request because you're not sure if the partner has actually put in another guest. You're not sure if, let's say, the condition of the property is any good because you don't know if the partner or the person you're working with is taking care of their end of the bargain. If you can't trust the other side, ultimately your hosts are going to, your guests are going to be the victims of that. And then ultimately, in that sense, then your ranking goes down, all these other bad things happen. So focus on the good properties, focus on the good partnerships, and you're going to make more anyways. Yeah? Okay. Okay. All right. I still have 10 minutes. Does anybody want to hear any more of this, or do we want to go and drink some wine?
Do you use this data to talk to your owners to project the returns?
Yes, we use this data to talk to our owners, and we share this data, like I said, on YouTube too as well, because we want to unify the marketplace at this point. The marketplace is going in all different types of directions. We have myths and rumors about what Bukit Vista is and does and all these things. And so with each partner, we sit down, we show them what we can do, and we show them essentially how we can make intelligent decisions to drive their property forward. But we're also sharing this with the community so that we get alignment, so that we get essentially, I mean, it's a lot to ask for trust on just one meeting, but hopefully we can move towards a way where we can all contribute to that data pool. And as we've seen recently, data is incredibly important. It allows us to actually see the truth of things. A lot of things that we know on Facebook or the news are fake. And I myself have been, let's say, you remember that, right? I've been affected by fake news in a very direct way that, funny enough, led to the creation of Bukit Vista. So I know that without underlying facts, without truth, without data behind it, everything can be just assumptions. It can just be, my neighbor said something, I heard that, and then that bad information gets passed on. But if we can all rely on a central pool of data where we can say, this is a fact, this is not a fact, then a lot of the insights we thought we had, a lot of the things we thought would actually grow our business, don't grow our business, and a lot of the things that could grow our business actually are right underneath our nose and we didn't see it before. So to answer your question, Jordan, yes, we do share this with our owners.
One last question. What's the average day nights that, or the highest nights that the bookings are?
Oh, you mean the peak booking pace, right?
Not the pace, but the nights of booking for the same guest and the same villa.
Oh, the longest length of stay. I guess a month? I don't know. I don't have that data, actually. I don't have that data.
That would be good data.
That would be good data. But generally, I think it's like a curve that looks like this. It goes 1 night stays, 2 night stays, 3, 4, 5, and then it goes down like that. Oh, Jordan, also, let me revise what I just said. We show the owners the data that is relevant to their property. We don't show them the data for everyone else's property. That would be weird. But yeah, so we do share that so that we're all on the same page. You know? Single source of truth. Okay, cool. Oh, Julie.
Does Bukit Vista get involved in experiences or just hosting?
Okay, that is a very good question. And the answer to that is we've chosen not to get into experiences yet. And the reason for that is there is already so much to do in the accommodation side, as you can see. If you really focus on the accommodation side, there's there's already so many things to think about. So we've seen that accommodations are probably going to be the gateway into experiences. If you get the accommodation, then you probably have a better chance of on-selling an experience. Although it's not always that case anymore. It's sort of an independent variable on experiences now. But having said that, Julie, I think that in the future, if we've seen the stats, people are spending more of their experiences than they are on their accommodations. I mean, who really travels to just stay the whole time in their room? I mean, it might be a nice room. It might be a room that's well designed and such. But I didn't travel to KL to spend 18 hours sitting in an apartment. I wanted to go out and try street food. I want to go out and explore. I want to go link up and maybe do some co-working, do some other things. So the experience budget is actually increasing now as an overall percentage of travel budget. And we've been seeing that trend too. We've been seeing more buys on budget accommodations and more spend on everything else. And so that's that. Everyone here knows where Canggu is, right? Right. So Canggu is essentially one of the largest, I think, experience marketplaces in the world. You can go there, and in one day you can go horseback riding. You can have frozen like ice cream made with liquid nitrogen. You can go to a skate park. You can then go party on the beach. You can go surfing. There's just such a large range of experiences, and that's one of the reasons I think that grows that particular community, just the range of experiences. So we don't do experiences yet, but I think that's a very good space to be in the near future. Okay, all right. So let me pass it back to Lily.
Okay, thank you, Jing, for that very insightful. Oh no, we have one last question. Yes, sir.
Sorry, maybe the last question. I believe the Airbnb has already the analytical for their hosts. So how to make a data like what you have on Bukit Vista?
How to make it? We built it in-house, sir, and I think that's one of our fundamental. I don't know if I'm ready to share that yet, right? That's essentially what we want to. I mean, ultimately, that's our capital there, right? Having these tools, having this insight is that we can share the milk, but we won't share the cow with you. Right? How about that? So I think if you want it, you got to build it yourself, or you got to work with Bukit Vista to get it. Then, yeah. I can't give that away, as you can probably imagine. Just like Facebook probably didn't give away how they made that too. But there is a process, I think, and it does require technology, time, right teams, good stuff. But it is it's a fairly, I think, yeah. That's all I can say for that. Yeah. But if you want, it's so much more than that, sir. It's not just about how do you build it. It's like, what do you do with it? Like if you build a race car, it's just step one, right? You still got to go and participate in the race, and you still got to race the car. So it's not just that. It's all about how you're going to make it better. I mean, like after a while, like Jordan just said, he said length of stay. We need to add that too, maybe into our data, so we see how long guests are staying, so then we can maybe create the right packages for them. So I think it involves ownership of this creation too as well. And then the other part is, do you want to go through the same hassle? I think that's what we talked about earlier this morning, in-house solution versus off the shelf. We want to be a data company eventually. We want to be able to like get all the data, all the insights, so that we can make the right decisions as well. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jing. All
Thank you,
right, not to worry, guys. You will be happy to know that right after this, we're having a wine and networking session, and that's led by Jing again. So more FaceTime with him. Okay, so with that wraps